Hey everyone, I'm Kiana, co-founder of Plenty of Stuff Studio, and today I'm really excited to give you a little behind the scenes sneak peek at what it's like to be part of our team. So, we're joined by the amazing Frances, our graphic design assistant, who's been an absolute gem to work with, by the way, over the past few months. And she's been helping us bring in creative ideas to life, to building her portfolio and experiencing what it's really like to work in a fast-paced real-world studio environment with us and our team, of course. And today we're just going to talk about some of the projects that she's been involved with, what she's learned, what it's like working with us. Yes, the good, the bad, and maybe slightly chaotic. Um, and how this experience has set her up for what is next. So, whether you're a fellow creative or thinking of joining our team in some way or reaching out, or you're just curious about how we work behind the scenes, because people love to be nosy, we hope this gives you a real honest insight into life at Plenty of Stuff Studio. So I'm gonna stop talking now and I'm gonna hand over to Francis. So can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yeah, of course. So, hi, my name's Frances. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia. I grew up there and then I moved over here about 10 years ago. And I've basically always loved graphic design. I've always been passionate about design. And last year I graduated with my degree in graphic design and illustration. And I was bouncing around for a little bit, traveling and doing the typical uni graduate thing until I realized that I needed a lot of like real world experience to actually get into the industry. And so that's when I sort of reached out to Plenty of Stuff and we joined together.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. Started strong there. I think it's great that before you kind of made the decision, like, right, I'm gonna do what I want to do, graphic design, you went
Yeah.
traveling. I think that really helps with, like you said, the real world experience, but actually from like a personal development perspective, traveling can be really beneficial.
Yeah, because like while I was at university, I studied abroad, and I'd already always known that I wanted to study abroad because like growing up in Australia, it's like a big thing for people to study abroad, especially in high school. Um, and obviously, high school here, studying abroad isn't really a thing, and that's kind of around when I moved. Um, so when I went to uni, I was like, I'm definitely going to study abroad. I'm 100% going to study abroad. And I ended up going to Germany and I just loved it so much. I had such a great time, met so many great people. And so then once I graduated, I was like, I need to visit all of them and I need to go see them again. So then I was like traveling around Europe for a little while.
Oh, that's so nice. But yeah, so we'll dive into it then. So explain to us, because I've kind of forgotten as well, 'cause Mom's back now. But how did you come into first contact with Plenty of Stuff Studio with us? How did you first, I guess, see us? Where?
So I knew one of, I guess still know, one of the other graphic designers that you work with, Tegan, and she sort of got us together because I'd just come back from my traveling. I knew that I wanted to get into design, but like a lot of industries nowadays, it's quite hard to get into and it's quite hard to like really stand out and make people like notice you because I feel like that's the majority of the battle. Once people know who you are, it's a bit easier to show like this is what I can do, but it's getting yourself in front of people that matters. And experience can really help you do that because then you can show that you actually know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about in like a real world environment. And so I was like asking around people I knew and I was like, I really need some experience. If you know anyone, if you know any studios, if anyone I can contact. And Tegan was like, hey, I know these guys, they're great. I'll put you in contact.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. And be honest, when she said that, did you think like, oh no, like what was going through your mind at that point?
When she said that I was gonna get on a call with the two like directors of the studio, I freaked out. It's like at first, I can't lie. I was like, because I every time I've been to like any other kind of interview, it's never been like the director. It's always been like, and I feel like since it's you're the director and it's like it's your company, like it's almost like it's your baby. And I was like trying
Yeah.
to sell myself like to go into. I was like really really nervous like logging onto that first Zoom, as well because and also it was some of like my first design experience. Like I've done some freelancing work as well, but it was like my first like proper experience with a studio. So I was a little bit nervous. I can't lie about that. But everyone was so nice. You and Tim were great. Tegan was she was on the call as well. Tegan was great. Tegan helped break the ice a little bit, being the one who knew both of us.
Yeah, it does help. I think it's so important for us, the culture that we create as well, that from the very moment people meet us in whatever capacity, whether they're going to be a client or they're going to work with us, employee, whatever it is, that they feel comfortable
Yeah.
from the get-go. And that's something I really try my best to convey. Like, although obviously this is mine and Tim's, obviously, like you said, our baby, it's also, we're looking for support and help as well. And it's so important for us that we also found the right fit for our studio. And so it's almost like people go into interviews and they think like, oh, like they're looking at me, but it's also like, is it the right fit for you? Like, can you work
Yeah.
with us? Do you like the vibe that we bring and the energy and all of that? So I mean, what impression did we make when we first had that conversation and that call?
Well, I expected you guys to be a lot more serious. So when you were like it's I feel like I don't know, there's always this like or at least for me, there's always this like perception that people at like the top of a company, like even if it's like a small studio or like even a small business or something, you always expect like the person at the top of the company to be like really serious. And I expected you guys to be really, really serious. So then when you like when you were both and this is going to sound silly, but when you were both like normal people on the call, it felt a lot like, okay, there's a lot, like it felt like there was a lot less pressure for me.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And I'm so glad you said that because that is the impression we wanted to make. And we're not here to scare people and at the end of the day, yes, like we're the directors of the company. That doesn't put us above anyone. It doesn't mean, it's a title at the
Yeah.
end of the day. That's how I view it. And yeah, we like our our workload differs and there's a lot more responsibility. Yeah. And things like that. But we're all humans and that's something that I've been into interviews and not necessarily with directors, but I guess managers and people in very senior positions. And I've always almost felt like I'm being looked down upon or I'm really being
Mm.
criticized. And that's something again with our business we didn't want to happen. We don't want people to feel like that's what's going on. So I'm relieved that you felt kind of a bit more relaxed after meeting
Yeah.
us and seeing, yeah, like we're just here for a chat. It's an interview, obviously, but it's important that you feel right. Um, okay, let's go into more, I guess, the day-to-day duties of you then. So, what kind of projects have you been involved with?
So I've done quite a lot, including things that I've actually haven't done before, which was really exciting to be able to do stuff that I just maybe hadn't had a chance to do at uni or elsewhere. So some things I did some logo redesigns, I did some illustrations for different companies because obviously with my degree in both graphic design and illustration, I do love to bring illustration into my work if I have the chance to, so it's great to do that. Lots of social media, and I loved the social media because I got a bit more like free reign on that because it was for your guys' social media a lot of the time. So I could just sort of come up with whatever I thought would work and like doing my little series like the level up your design. I loved I loved doing that and coming up with the little things for that one. But I've also like tried a bit of stuff like copywriting, which I hadn't done a whole lot of before. I mean, obviously at uni I've written essays and stuff
Mm.
like that, but like writing blog posts and things, I hadn't done that before, so that was definitely something new for me too.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. Again, it's important that everyone has their role. Obviously, you're an expert in your field, graphic design, and that's what you specialize in. But it's so important, I think, to expand and develop on skill sets. That's why it's great to get you involved in projects like copywriting and see like, okay, maybe this is the process that we go through, this is what happens, and also so you have an idea of what happens in other departments of the studio and things like that. Then you can get an idea of the whole project. Um, yeah, and then it's easier to collaborate and be cohesive on things. So the big question, which project was your favorite one so far?
I mean, I know I've already mentioned it, but honestly, anything to do with the social media. I just love the social media. Like there was one thing I did. I'm not sure if it's been posted yet, but I did like a day in my life like
Oh,
reel.
yes,
And
hasn't
I loved making that. It was so much fun. I fully set up I can't lie. Some of the um shots were taken a few times. Like it wasn't as candid as maybe the reel might suggest. There were a few repeat shots, but I got to like set up the camera. I had it like follow me the whole day. It was just a day where I was working from home. And it was when the weather was a bit nicer than it is now. So it was nice and sunny outside. I spent some time outside. But then after I'd like finished getting all the like content like actually filming, I then like went in and edited it. And I had a lot of fun with that too. Because I've done like a bit of video editing before and I've like made some reels for my own personal account on Instagram as well. But it was like really fun to, yeah, just like put it all together and like follow your guys' like sort of style for the feed. But then to see me on it, it was like, oh,
it? That's me.
that's me.
No, that's great. So stay tuned for that to be posted, everyone, because it will be soon, I think. So yeah, no, that's good. And what surprised you most about working in a marketing studio setting compared to what you expected graphic design to be like?
Well, I expected like being in a studio that I would be a lot more stressed than I was with you guys. So
You weren't
yeah,
stressed.
I guess that's a good thing. Um, because like you guys are like you've been really like flexible as well with like any other commitments that I've had or anything else that I'm doing. And like in terms of turnaround and deadlines, like there have been some where it's been like, okay, we need this by tomorrow or like the day after. But it's always been like I've never felt like you've expected more of me than I can do. Like it's never been like unrealistic. Like we need you to do a full logo redesign in 12 hours. And I'm like, oh, okay. What I kind of expected that being in a studio would be like that because at uni as well, they were like telling us stuff like it's gonna be, oh, sorry, they were telling us stuff that like, oh, it's gonna be hectic, it's gonna be chaos, it's gonna be and so like I fully expected with you guys that it was gonna be hectic like that. But it was busy, but like not in a way that I thought would be like not in the way that I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be like busy, consuming. I'd be like swamped, but it you guys made it like really flexible and enjoyable, and it meant that I had like the capacity to like learn and develop. Like I wasn't overwhelmed with trying to figure everything out, and so I wasn't really retaining anything. Like I had the space to grow and learn whilst also still doing the work as well.
That makes me feel so happy again because when me and Tim were speaking about having our very first meetings about what direction we're taking this in, something that I was very heavy on, and Tim as well, was I do not want to be, or people who work for us, I do not want them to feel swamped with the work. I know what it's like to have such unrealistic deadlines and it has to be done by today and the client said this and the client said that. Well, actually no, like it's healthy to push back on them client boundaries and communicate to them like, well, that's not realistic, and our employees, the people who we work with, their mental health is important to us and their work-life balance. I mean, how can I, there's been interviews where I've sat here and I've spoken about work-life balance, and how can I sit and say that and then have people who we work with stressed because of the workload we're putting onto them? That doesn't
Yeah,
sit right to me. And I know a few people, not personally, but I you can look at businesses and think, okay, and I've experienced it, Tim's experienced it, and it's just something we really wanted to steer clear from.
yeah.
So
Because like it's good to be, oh sorry, but it's good to be busy.
yes,
Um, and I like being busy and I like having stuff to do.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like the realistic time frame. I really appreciated.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, balance is everything
Balance.
for sure. So then, if you were to describe the vibes at Plenty of Stuff Studio in 3 words, what is it like? And be completely honest.
Okay. Laid back. That's kind of 2 words, but I'm gonna say one.
Yeah.
Laid back. Laid back, friendly,
Okay.
but also like, oh, this isn't 3 words. I'm gonna sound silly here, but like still like pushing me to like learn and grow.
That's good.
Like three phrases, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, that's not three words, but I completely get what you're saying. Like three phrases.
Three
Oh,
phrases.
that genuinely makes me so happy because, by the way, everyone watching this, we didn't have a conversation about this beforehand. I literally just sent certain questions and was like, right, let's just get so
Yeah.
real about this.
I don't have a script. I'm not reading anything.
Yes, and I did not force her to say anything. But yeah, I'm glad that we've created that vibe because me and Tim, we do work hard behind the scenes to make sure that that is how everyone who comes across us feels like, again, in whatever capacity it is, even if it's just a conversation, it carries so much weight, like the actual workplace culture and the whole, it's part of the brand, right? It's part of the
Mm.
brand and the messaging that we're conveying. So that is such a relief. Okay, so I'll move on to a different question then. What have you learnt or had reinforced about design or working life since joining us?
I think that, I mean, this is more something that's reinforced, but that your first idea isn't necessarily always the best idea. And that sometimes you need to,
Yes.
like, you need to go back a few times. Because, I mean, I had that at uni, definitely, where I would go up to my tutor with an idea and I'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, no, turn around. Um, and they did say that, like, in the real world, that's very much what it is, because obviously you're doing work for other people. But something that I thought was like really cool about working for you guys is that whilst that is true, that it is like, um, your first idea may not be the best and you may need to like workshop it a bit and like have other opinions coming in. I really thought coming out of uni that it would be like I didn't have a say as a designer, like that when I was at work, it would just be like, you need to do this. And then I just don't have opinions, especially as I start out in my career. Like, I'll just be like, okay. And I just do it. And then I just even if I don't think something is quite right, if they say it, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But with you guys, you like told me a lot of times you're like, what do you think? Like, what is your feeling about this? Like, we think maybe this, but if you think something else, then let us know. And there were times where like you would suggest something and I felt like I had the power and the confidence to be like, well, actually, I think it would be better if we did this instead. And then you guys were like, okay, yeah, let's try that. And that was something that I genuinely like didn't expect coming into like an actual studio environment as like someone starting out in their career that I would have the ability to like say that, and you guys really gave me the confidence. Like I really like built on that confidence to be able to like sort of sometimes stand up for my ideas and be like, well, actually, maybe what if we tried this? Like what if we put that instead? And like sometimes I would be off the mark and it would be like, no, we need to do this instead. It's like, okay, fine, like, that's great. I tried, but no. But then other times it was like really cool to see like it felt like, as you said, like that there wasn't like a huge like imbalance, but that everyone was like treating everyone's opinions like equal, and it was like there's no necessarily bad ideas, and everyone can have a say. Because that is like how you get to the best ideas is when everyone jams all their thoughts together, and then the ideas sort of merge and come together as like one thing. Like it's always the best ideas when everyone's piled in and
Oh,
then something comes out of it.
for sure. It's almost refreshing to get different perspectives and to give people a bit of context. I mean, I do shout about this. I am not a designer at all. Francis will tell you and Tim, I'm terrible. And I can look at something and be like, yeah, that looks good, but I cannot for the life of me envision anything to do with design. And if I have a conversation with a client, I can get their vision and I can convey that to a graphic designer, but I can't do it myself. And that's why I genuinely value what you say because I'm not an expert in design. I don't have much experience. I'm learning. but but yeah, it's I don't do it day to day. So it's so important as well that I have people around me, part of the team, who I can go to, like yourself, and be like, okay, Francis, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts? Because we value we value your opinion and you've studied graphic design. Your What you think and what you say is going to hold a lot of weight to us as well. especially to me, who've just, yeah, design's not my stronghold at all. And let's talk people,
Okay.
the big one here. So, what are Tim and I actually like to work with?
Honestly, it felt like I was just working with people at uni. Like it felt like I was back in like the library when we would rent out like the like library rooms and we'd all just stand next to the whiteboard and scribble ideas together. Like it really, I mean, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but it really didn't feel like it was like director and assistant, which I was a bit worried about coming in.
Mm.
That especially like I said with the first call when Tegan was like, "Yeah, the directors," I was like, "Oh, directors, okay." Like I really thought that there would be like a sort of gap between us, and that I would like constantly feel this like pressure and like almost like anxiety of like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm always on my best and I'm always like, you know, because again, especially as someone just starting out in my career, I want to make a good impression. I want to build a network. I want people to think I'm capable, to think I'm good. Um, and I want to show people what I can do. So it was like nice to work with people like yourself and Tim, who it didn't feel like I was like constantly like having to look up and like, you were looking down. It really felt like we were like equal and like our ideas could like gel together. And it just felt, yeah, like I was working on a group project at uni again. And like we were all collaborating together.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is brilliant. And do you know what? I've had some flashbacks to certain things that we've all worked on together.
Mm.
Behind the scenes moments now we'll go into. I It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, how everyone's ideas can come into play and your first idea might not necessarily be the idea. But do you remember when we were working on the hairstyle? We spent so long just doing
On
literally
the
ideas,
faces,
faces, and then in the end we reverted right back to
like to the first one.
just the most simple thing. But it's
Yeah,
like them moments as well. And another one where we met at in Camberley, I think it was Login Lounge.
yeah, that was
Like,
it.
and I was trying to brainstorm ideas for a campaign. I think it was our 500 followers on Instagram campaign, which we
Yeah,
went ahead with. But again, me and Tim spent so long trying to think about how we're going to do this and to celebrate and let's do a giveaway and a competition and etc. etc. And I think you were kind of part of that conversation as well. And you saw us like, "Oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What do you think about it?" And then we just never went ahead with it at all. So many different behind the scenes moments. But
yeah.
what's been your favorite studio moment that no one else would know about unless they worked with us?
I think it's probably with that 500 follower thing. As you're saying, it's just sparked a memory of when we were working together on it and we were like trying to come up with like, oh, how do we celebrate? And then there was the idea of the like the giveaway or the competition. And so um I think it was you were like, oh, can you make like a social media post about it? And I was like, great, sure. Um, but for some reason, Photoshop was just not having it on my laptop that day. And so I was like, it's fine. I'll just use Adobe Express online because it's a quick social media post. I can pop it together. Would have been better with Photoshop or InDesign, but it's not happy today, so I'll do it on Adobe Express. But Adobe Express just kept crashing, and I managed to finally get it to work, and I was like, okay, great, I can do it. And I sat there, we were like all working together, and I think it took me about 2 hours to put it together. And right as I was about to export it, it crashed and I lost it all. And I was just staring. And I think if you go onto the Instagram,
Yeah,
there's a post of us at the login lounge, like a
yeah,
picture
there
of
is.
us.
Yeah.
And if you zoom in, you'll see on my laptop screen the page is blank because you took the photo right after it crashed. And then you're like, oh, let's take a photo. And I was like, oh, yeah. Ooh.
Oh my gosh. And then after all of that, like we didn't even
Yeah.
post anything. Yep, that sounds about right. It's literally chaotic. But again,
Yeah.
it's just tech. Like you don't know what tech is going to do. And we have to
No.
account for the time that is wasted. But it's all fun and games, like looking back at it, like, oh, haha. So if another fellow creative, for example, comes to you and asks whether they should work with us, what would you honestly say?
I would say yeah. I would say yeah, like really easily. And I'm not being forced to say this to anyone. This is my genuine opinion. Um, but yeah, no, you guys are like so kind and so encouraging. And I really appreciated like having that support. Again, I keep saying it, but like as I'm starting out in my career, because it can be daunting to go from university to real world studio environment where you're dealing with like paying clients, like people are giving you their money
Yeah.
to turn a design around. So like you have to make something that feels worth someone's money. And again, especially like in Plenty of Stuff's case, where a lot of the projects that I worked on were for smaller businesses.
Mhm.
So like for a smaller business as well, like their money for design or marketing, it's like it's a big deal. So it could feel a bit like daunting at times, like coming straight into that environment. But you guys made it like so calm and so like relaxed. And like, even though it was busy and there was like stuff to do, and like there were times where, as I said, like the turnaround would be a day or 2 days, it was never like I felt like I was up against it or that I had no one to turn to. Like, you guys were always there and also just so flexible around like my other commitments, like my other freelance work as well. Like, whether it was working like together, like when I would come to see you guys, like, or if I was just working remotely at home, like you guys were always like really flexible. So yeah, any creative watching, 100% recommend. Definitely.
Yes, yeah, again, I'm really happy with that. As I've said before, you've been absolutely brilliant. It's been such a relief to know that there's someone we can go to, we can rely on. And I have no doubt in my mind, yeah, Francis is going to get this done to a high standard and it will fit the brief. And even if, again, like you said, if you think actually there's a better way to do this or a more efficient way, you're not afraid to communicate that. And that's
Mm.
something, that's a skill that's highly valuable because, again, we hire professionals because we want their input. And that's just so important in the working world as well. That again, you can approach us and say, actually, let's do this. And it benefits us because then it just makes the whole project better. And that's what we want our clients to be happy. And we've had positive feedback from working with you and everything you've done. And it's just been brilliant. Cool. So what's next for you and how do you think your time here has helped you set up for that next step?
So I'm moving into a new role in London. No, don't be sad. I'm really excited because like I've wanted to live and work in London like my whole life, even growing up in Australia. My mom used to live in London when she was around my age, and she would always talk about it and say like, "Oh, when I was working in London, it was the best time of my life." So I've always wanted to, so I'm really excited that this like lifelong dream of mine is like starting to come true in an industry that I like am so passionate about. So I'm really excited. I'm very excited. Um, but definitely like being at Plenty of Stuff, definitely like was like instrumental in me getting there because like even just the simple things of like knowing how a studio operates, knowing like how to talk to clients, knowing like how to deal with like setbacks or like when like maybe a project falls through or like if a client you thought would love something and then they turn around and say absolutely not, but they can't tell you why. Like all these like sort of things that I maybe didn't have the experience of at uni because I wasn't working like for clients at uni, being able to like experience that now in like a more like home environment of like I'm still at home and like you guys are really laid back and kind, and it was more of like an educational thing like in terms of me growing and me learning whilst I was working with you guys. Like that has really like sort of built my confidence to now go into this new role and feel confident with things like client work and like working in a big studio and like talking to different people, and as I said before, being able to like stand up for my ideas if I think no, actually I think maybe we should try this, or has anyone thought about doing it this way. Again, like I fully expected that like as a someone new in their career, it would be like I just go to work and my mouth is closed. Like I don't question anything, I don't say anything, like because I'm, just starting out. But it's nice to know that like I do have good ideas and I do have like the ability to make good things and like good choices. So it was nice to be in an environment where I could like grow that skill of, hey, maybe have we tried this or is this a good idea? Because I think that'll be something like instrumental. Because as you said, like even like for like the business or the studio that I'm working for, like it is beneficial when people speak up and when they express their ideas. Because there's no harm in someone expressing an idea and then someone else saying no. Like just having all the ideas of everyone putting their ideas in, that can only lead to something better.
Yes, no, 100%. And, you know, confidence and self-belief, I say this to everyone, my friends, just everyone around me. That is something I would love to instill in everyone that I meet, because if you don't believe in yourself, then you can't expect other people to. And if you're not confident, and other people will always pick up on that, and then it's like, why are they not confident? But you genuinely are brilliant at what you do. And we are so sad. It's going to be such a loss for us. We're devastated, honestly. However, we are so happy that you're moving on to your dream role and you're going to London and you'll be able to live the life that you wanted and worked so hard for. So it's very much well deserved. We'll be sad,
Thank you.
we'll definitely be feeling it, but hey, we're always going to
Keep
be,
in contact.
yeah, exactly. We'll keep in contact, and who knows what will happen in the future, but you're going to
Exactly.
absolutely smash it. I know that for sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, last question.
Okay.
If our studio, Plenty of Stuff Studio, had a mascot or a motto based on your experience here, what would it be?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm looking around my room now to,
For
to
the
see like
art. What can
what would be,
inspire me?
yeah, what can inspire me here. Um, I guess like I don't know why this is the first thing that came into my mind, but I'll say it because it's the first thing that came into my mind. But I kind of like if I think about like you and Tim, I guess, like because that was like my main experience with your studio. I would like I would imagine your mascot being like an owl. Like I don't know, like kind of wise, but then also like I imagine like owls as this is gonna sound silly, but like I love the game Animal Crossing. And there's an owl in Animal Crossing called Blathers who runs the little museum and he's like kind of crazy. He's a little bit like sometimes a little bit chaotic. Sometimes he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And like it seemed like he's a very funny guy, but then he also, if you ask him about like the different stuff in the museum, like he knows what he's talking about. And I kind of imagine your studio as Blathers the owl from Animal Crossing.
Hilarious. I need to go and Google who that actually is and everything because I have no clue. But that's great. I can't really say too much because I don't know. But that's a
But
good
like you guys know what you're talking about
yeah.
when like I came to you and asked you for questions.
Yeah.
But like you're also still like really fun
Yeah.
and like normal and like a bit goofy, you know? So it just felt like very homey.
Oh, yay. Um, but yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your, I'm so happy, positive experience with us in the studio and myself and Tim. We just like to say a huge thank you for all the work that you've done for us, for our clients, on behalf of our clients, and you've really you've given us something that actually I'm so glad that we worked with you because we've learned from it. We've loved the experience having you by our side and saying, "Yeah, have you tried this and that?" and your input and a fresh pair of eyes, let's say, and a perspective. It really does help, especially in an environment like this. And it's been really valuable to us. So thank you so much. And thanks for coming on here and sharing it with everyone.
Thank you for having me.